Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're a new subscriber, I'm so glad to have you here. To my old subscribers, thank you so much for returning. Trust me, your support does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much for taking the time out to spend a little bit of time with me here in YouTube. So let's jump right into today's project. I have picked up this really cute birdhouse from the Dollar Tree, and what I did first was I removed the actual hanger by cutting it away, and I went on the inside of it through those cutouts in the front, and I just took my needle nose pliers and removed the actual knot. So now I'm going to give all four sides of this birdhouse 2 coats of this matte acrylic paint. You can use chalk paint, of course, if you would like. And I'm just simply using this matte paint because I want it to have a nice rustic feel for this particular wreath. So now that all four sides have been painted, not only did I paint the four sides, but I also went underneath the inner portions of the ceiling, the roof, and or overhang of the roof, that is, and I painted that white as well. So now I'm bringing in a chippy brush with some of this silver lining paint from Waverly, and I am going to go ahead and just give this a little bit of dry brushing to give it more of that rustic feel, because again, this is going on my front door, and when I'm dry brushing, I am always sure to make sure that I hit my edges, because when you hit the edges with the dry brushing technique, it really helps to create like an outline of your project. So once my dry brushing is done, now I want to go ahead and begin to paint the roof, and not only the roof, but I want to create the doors and the windows. And to do this, I'm going to use this black paint and ink. This is chalk paint again, and I'm just going to take a jumbo crafting stick that I picked up from Walmart, and I'm going to paint this on the front as well as the sides. While that's drying, I'm going to now take that same paint and I'm going to paint the roof of this birdhouse. Not only the roof, but I'm also going to paint those very thin edges on the side. While I was painting this, it really kind of reminded me of that chipped enamel kind of technique that I've seen other YouTubers do. I love doing this kind of painting because it's nice and steady, and it's kind of calming to me. So now I'm going to go ahead and complete the roof as you see here. So now it's time for me to go ahead and cut out my door and my windows. Now, when you're cutting out your doors or your windows, you don't even have to use this particular technique. You could always just paint them on, or you could like cut it out if you would like. The choice is completely yours. I just chose to do this because I do like the kind of 3D effect that it gives. So as you see, I have measured how large, how tall I want my doorway to be for this birdhouse. I've just simply cut it down. I've taken a little bit of that paint, just covered that top edge, and I just found my placement, and I'm going to hot glue this down. And after I've hot glued this down, I begin to look at the placement that I want for my window. Now, to create the actual window, again, you could paint this. However, I chose just to take this jumbo craft stick and just to cut it down into 4 smaller squares or rectangles. I at first wanted to do kind of like a mosaic kind of feel, but then I was like, nah, let's just keep it a little bit more simple. So while I was cutting out these window pieces, these window panes, I noticed that when I was cutting with the grain of this particular wood from this giant craft stick, it really cut out very, very easy. Now to create the doorknob, I'm just going to take some of that matte acrylic paint. I dip my paintbrush into it, the end of the paintbrush, and I just put a little dot, and there it is. So now to actually form the wreath portion of this wreath. This is a nice thick jumbo vine that I found this past Saturday. Our church went on an outing with the United Way, and we helped with the community garden. And while I was cutting away some of the branches, this particular piece of vine really caught my attention. So as you see, I just simply formed this nice teardrop kind of shape. And I didn't want the teardrop on the inside to be too big. So I just let the two ends cross over. And then I just went ahead and drilled a hole through both ends of this vine. And this vine is very flexible, as you see. I hope you can find something like this because I feel like this is just very unique. This is very different. I love how this turned out. Now, once I have both ends of this vine with the hole completely drilled through the middle, I'm going to take some of this 22 gauge wire and I'm just going to go ahead and feed a nice piece of this through both of those holes. And this is going to go ahead and actually attach the two ends together so they'll be nice and secure. When I was doing this, I had to kind of finagle it just to make it work. Um, if you are able to recreate this, please, please, please let me know. I totally enjoyed making this, and not to mention that the wreath form, quote unquote, was absolutely free, just from Mother Nature, just from what God has given us. So once my wire has been fished or threaded through these two holes, now I'm just going to take it and I'm just going in, kind of weaved in and out, tightened it a bit, um, twisted it around just to make sure that this is really nice and secure. I'm going to cut away the extra of this wire. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring in this nice thicker twine. So with this twine, I am going to go ahead and form like a crisscross motion as you see in this particular scene. And what this is going to do is not only going to cover up that wire and it's going to cover up that sharp piece of wire, but it's also going to give us something for our florals to be glued onto so that we don't have to worry about them falling off of the actual vine itself. And it's also going to help us create a hanger. So to create the hanger, you see, I just took a nice long piece of that twine. I just looped it in between the very top portion of that teardrop shape. And I tied a ribbon, not a ribbon, excuse me, a knot in the top of it. And we have a hanger. So to start the crisscross motion of that twine, I just hot glued it, a portion of it to the vine, and I just started just crisscrossing back and forth. Now, this can be a bit time consuming and it can be a bit nerve wracking as well. So just take your time again if you are able to find a piece like this. Once I have this twine completely crisscrossed, I'm just going to go ahead and take a drop of this hot glue at the very last end of this piece of twine. And I'm just going to, again, hot glue this down. So now it's time to begin to assemble this wreath. So to begin assembling this, I want to take my birdhouse and attach this to the bottom portion of this teardrop shape. To do this, at first I tried just simple hot glue on either side of the birdhouse on the inside. I'm sorry I'm out of frame, but I tried just a little bit of hot glue on either side of the birdhouse on the inside of this vine. That did not work. So what I did wind up doing, as you will see, is I took a piece of the green floral foam from the Dollar Tree and I cut it down to the size that I needed. And after I did that, I just kind of shoved it down into the bottom. Well, let me take that back. I shoved it down between the bottom of the birdhouse and the inner part of this teardrop shape of this vine. Now, doing this allowed me to have something for my birdhouse to rest on so that it wouldn't be so flimsy. And after I have my styrofoam in place, as I know that it fits, I don't need to cut any more of it away. I'm just going to take a ton of hot glue and I'm just going to hot glue away and let this completely set up. Now, not only did I go ahead and continue with the hot glue on the styrofoam, but I did go on the inner edge where the bottom of the birdhouse meets the actual wreath form or the vine itself as well. So these vines, I found these at the Dollar Tree. They have these three different styles of ferns and greenery. They're the nice hard plastic, which I absolutely love. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know I can't stand the silk artificial flowers. But these nice hard plastic greeneries I absolutely love. So to give this wreath like a nice kind of wispy feel at the end, what I did at the bottom of this styrofoam was I took these three different kinds of greenery and just hot glued this to the bottom of my floral foam, because I feel like it just really it's going to tie this whole wreath together, door hanger together. So now that I have those pieces of greenery attached to the bottom of this wreath, now I'm going to go ahead and actually cover this styrofoam with some of this reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. To attach this, again, I'm just laying down the hot glue and I'm pressing this moss into the hot glue. When doing this, please be careful because that hot glue will seep through that moss and it will get your finger. It got me once and it didn't have to tell me nothing ever again. I grabbed my silicone little spatula and I just used that to go ahead and tack the moss into the hot glue. So once the hot glue began to slightly solidify, I'm just going to go ahead and bring my scissors in and I will kind of cut away the excess of that moss. While I am going for a nice natural look, a rustic kind of look, I didn't want it to be just too wild. I hope you are enjoying today's video because I am really enjoying this. This is something out of the box for me, and I must admit I'm truly enjoying doing this kind of a wreath. So now I'm going to begin to form my swag, my floral swag for the top of this wreath. Now I did get these florals and these ferns, again the hard plastic ferns, surprisingly from the Dollar Tree. So keep your eyes out when you go to Dollar Tree for greenery. They have really truly upped their game. So to form this swag, I'm going to take two of these nice larger ferns, and I'm going to take two of these lavender, and I don't know what the other flower is. It's a nice, pretty little yellow flower. A bundle of those on each side. And then I'm also going to bring in some of these other greeneries from the vines that I just showed you that we use at the bottom of our birdhouse. And this is going to bring in more of that wispy kind of feel to it. Now I'm forming the second bundle. Now, after I have formed both of these bundles, I am going to go ahead and attach these where the actual bottom of the flowers would meet. I'm going to attach those together, tie them together using a zip tie. Now, when it comes down to making these swags and my bows, I really do like using the zip ties because it feels like it's not quite so permanent, because you can always just go in and, snip it away, and then you have your ribbon or your florals that you can use again. Now that I have both of these bundles tied together, now I'm just going to go ahead and bend these as much as I can, because at the top of our teardrop, of course, it is a very sharp angle, and I want this to be very nice and cohesive. So once it's attached, I've got it bent. Now I'm going to go ahead and just start fluffing out these flowers, start fluffing out the greenery, so that it doesn't look quite so stiff. So now that I've gotten my floral swag nice and fluffed out, I'm pleased with it. I'm going to pile on again some hot glue. I'm just going to put this in the place where that twine is wrapped around the very top. So now I'm going to create a bow. This is called the funky bow. I'm going to do my best. So what I've done is I've taken 8 pieces of ribbon. 4 pieces are of this really nice greenery kind of print that I picked up from Sam's, and the other is this particular ribbon that you see here that I picked up from Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago. I absolutely love that spring color combination of the white, the peach, or the coral floral color, excuse me, got tongue twisted there, and also of that beautiful lime green. I love that combination. So to begin to make this funky bow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first piece of ribbon and I'm going to form my loop, but then I will pinch, as you see. And when I pinch it, I have the tails and the actual loop. And as I do each piece, when I place it, I will begin to place them opposite of each other. Looking back in hindsight, before you even begin to form your bow, go ahead and cut your dovetails or your angled tails before you actually begin to form your bow. Now, what I did as well was I took two pieces of this ribbon, which is one piece of the greenery and one piece of the actual striped ribbon. And what I'm going to do is when I begin to actually tie this bow off, I'm going to go ahead and use those two pieces as tails for my bow. So as you see, I have all these pieces pinched in between my fingers. Again, I have the loops going in different directions and the tails going in different directions. Here I am bringing these two nice pieces of ribbon in to form the tails of my bow. I'm making sure that everything is nice and secure. And now I'm going to bring in this zip tie again. And I'm just making sure that it's really tight and secure. And here I am cutting my tails into dovetails. So once I have cut all of these ribbons into, the ends of the ribbons into dovetails, now I'm just going to go ahead and fluff this bow out. And once I have fluffed the bow out, I'm very pleased with how it looks. Now I'm going to attach this to my actual wreath. Jeez, I didn't think I was fluffing that bow that long. But I guess you just have to fluff, fluff, fluff away. Well, to attach this particular bow to our project, again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some hot glue and I'm going to place it in the very middle of that swag that we created and we place onto our door hanger. And I'm just going to hold it in place for a minute and just give it time to attach and to solidify. That is the hot glue. And then this project is complete. And I'm going to show you what it looks like hanging on my door. You guys, I must say, I am completely pleased with how this turned out. It is very springy, it's very woodsy, but it's very cheery. I think anybody that approaches my door will smile.